Hi everyone, it's me Joe, and you're probably wondering why I'm covering my face. And no, I have not had chemical burns, but the effect is not dissimilar. What the mother has she done? What has she done? I saw a couple of my favourite bloggers actually do a video on makeup do's and don'ts. Now you guys really liked my last vlog tutorial, so I thought I would do another long vlog tutorial for you, and I would go through what looks great and what compliments. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, and what perhaps does not. Now, I was really scared this might come across as a little bit arrogant to say what you shouldn't wear with makeup, so please take it with a pinch of salt. It's just my opinion about what compliments me, and if you guys have a difference of opinion, that's amazing. Alright guys, well please enjoy the video and pray for me as I try and get this off my eye. Thank you so much and enjoy. Alright everyone, so let's start off with the skincare, and I've taken a bit of inspiration from other videos I've seen, so I'm going to do half the face that's wrong, half the face that's right. But obviously it's just my aesthetic. It's not about teaching you guys what the right thing or the wrong thing is. It's just something that I don't do for kind of obvious reasons, I guess, so I'll explain. So it's hot in the summer in Brighton, so I'm not going to use a heavy moisturiser such as Burts Bees Radiance Day Cream. It's not going to work on my skin in the summer. It's just going to make the makeup melt off more because the oils in it will come out on my skin as it gets hot. I use something like Heal Gel, which is a UK brand. They're absolutely obscenely brilliant. I'm going to talk about them in a video soon. Heal Gel are just a light moisturiser and they don't aggravate the makeup, so in the heat it's amazing. Big makeup don't is don't go out with SPF. Everyone must wear SPF or you'll look like an old scrotum, and that won't be cute now, will it? Nope, nope, nope. My skin tone is pretty much neutral because I'm naturally very pink toned, but when the sun comes out on my skin it brings out more of a kind of browner tone throughout my skin. So I tend to mix things that are kind of neutral, and when I'm really, really pale in the winter I go back to pink. So I have a lot of Studio Fix fluid in my kit, so I'm going to actually show you NC15, which is a yellow foundation in the same kind of colour tone as me. And I will show you what it looks like on this side. So I'm using a foundation brush just for ease. I'm going to take it down the neck slightly just for effect, but you can obviously see that the colour is completely wrong because it's the wrong undertone. Now if I wanted to go out this colour completely, I would paint my whole body like that and pray for the best, but it's not a look I normally go for because yellow just isn't my colour tones. So I'm going to use it just a sponge just to pat that in. So I'm going to be mixing NW10 and NW15 on the left hand side of my face. I feel like I'm a little bit in between the both, but as well as using a mixture of the two, you can actually contour a little bit too, which makes it a lot more flattering. So I'm using NW15 just in the circumference of the face, and as you can see that just blends already. And even this can be a little bit yellow sometimes, the NWs, the darker they get. And then I'm going to use the NW10 just in the high points of the face. Mixing the two together down the neck. I'm also going to take it on the ear because I know a lot of girls don't actually put makeup on their ear, but when you're wearing a foundation you need to keep the colour consistent because when you take a flash photo you'll see the difference in colour tone, which may not be visible in real life. So I'm going to be using Doublewear Concealer Stay in Place, and it's in Light, which kind of is a neutral colour you can use, and it's great on blemishes and under the eyes. I'm going to show you on this eye, straight out of the tube, and blend it in with my finger. Okay, so under this eye it still has some sort of grey tonal quality to it because we've used a concealer that's heavier, it's a heavier product, but we haven't corrected what the problem is. We can't fix a dark eye circle with a full coverage product, we have to colour correct it first. So the products I like to use have to be a little bit more to the pinker orangey side first. So I'm going to show you on this eye, just on the bluest part, first, and then in with the concealer. As you can see on the right side of the face that we've concealed, there's still a dark shadow, but on the left it's completely gone. Because we've used a colour correction, which is pretty much the same as when you bleach your hair and you put the purple shampoo on. It counterbalances it. Because on the colour wheel, yellow and purple are opposite. So we need to counterbalance the kind of bluey, greeny colour that shows through the foundation with an orangey, pinky colour. So let's go into powders. Now, the next misconception about powders are if we use a darker powder, we'll look darker. You're not going to look darker, you're going to look orange. Especially if you're building up the wrong colour on the wrong colour. So if you're not this colour to begin with and you use an NC on top, you're going to look pretty much neon orange. It's not going to look like a tan, it's going to look kind of weird. So I'm going to be using Uemura, and it's their Lightbulb powder in medium sand. And I'm just going to show you how building up a yellow base on a yellow base really doesn't make you look tan. It makes you look a little bit cocoa. A little bit cocoa. Now, a great colour to use as a powder would be something that neutralises what we've got. So, for example, if I couldn't find my perfect match of foundation, for example, this is still a little bit too yellow for my body's a little bit pink, it's the closest we can get. I'm then going to use a pink powder on top to then kind of blend the whole thing in. This is by Uemura, and this is a pinky ambery colour. I think it's 364. You may be able to see how much cleaner looking this side is compared to this side. This side now looks a little bit more cakey. So keep the products down to a minimum if we're going to layer up, and that's the way to go. Bronzers. Now, everyone likes to look tanned in the summer, or a lot of us do. What are we going with? I have Laguna bronzer by Nars, and this is what not to do. Don't just powder it on willy-nilly. This does not make you look tanned. This makes you look like, I don't even know, like you've been rolling around in peanut butter. It isn't the way to do it. If you want to look bronzing, if you want to look more bronze, you have to apply it to the areas that the sun will naturally hit you. So, for example, I can still use that deep colour, just take it over the back of the hand so it's not bright intense, and just brush it on the bits of your face that really stand out, and then swirl it in. So we like to go from the temples to the forehead, because that's really where the sun hits you first. The tops of the cheekbones, and I always kind of use light touch and blend as you're applying. A little bit through the nose. When it comes to makeup, I say to everyone, go with what makes you feel happy, but there are kind of some complimentary rules that people forget about. Now, you can use blushes in any way you want. I think when it comes to colour, add as much colour as you want and do whatever you want. Become a human painting. But if you want to kind of enhance your face with a blusher, I think it's kind of better to use your eye as a guide and to maybe use colours that will bring out your eyes. So when it comes to blusher, I like to use products that really bring out the light of the cheek. So I quite like this colour, which is a cream blusher by Illamasqua called Sleek. And I really like this on the apples of the cheek because it really brings some sheen and it complements. When I'm choosing the colour of the blush, I'm looking to complement the eye colour. So I'm looking for things that have a little bit more of a warmer undertone, like an orange, because then it will just bring out the flush of the eye. So I'm using this just on a light motion. I'm just using this really between the contour of the cheek and the high point. So a colour that I don't think suits me particularly is this colour, which is Morale. Now I'd use this in a creative look, but because it's bright pink and it's kind of cool and kind of purpley, it will never look as natural as like a natural tone will, obviously. People, I think, use blusher as a kind of 70s kind of stripe, and it never really does anything but look like a stripe, really. Okay, so let's go in with eyebrows, because I'm sick of having no eyebrows in this video. So I think a lot of people think that they have to match their eyebrows with their hair, and this is never a good move. I have red hair today, but normally I have either blonde hair with dark roots, or I have a natural kind of brown. If I actually used the same colour as my blonde hair, it would have no shape to my face whatsoever. However, if I was going to use a colour like this, and I was going to go for a kind of similar brown tone to this bright red, it would be too dark. So let me just show you with a little bit of a dark pencil what it would look like. And I'm just going to draw this on. Now this is ridiculously placed, it's too high, it's the wrong colour, it's too dark for my face, and it really doesn't do anything for my face at all, which isn't what a brow should do. The brow really is the architecture of the face. It's something that really shapes the eye. It kind of draws your attention to where you should look, so you can actually use the kind of width of the brow, the placement of the stem of the brow to actually slim your nose. If it's too far apart, it looks a little bit kind of like a Y, it makes your nose look a little bit strange. If it's too close together, you can look very severe, and it doesn't highlight the best part of your nose. So all these things come into play when it comes to eyebrows, and I think people forget about this a lot. I think the best place to start is colour again. If you're dark, go 2 shades lighter than your hair. If you're light, go 2 shades darker. If you have creative hair and you want to do a creative look, feel free to go with whatever colour you want. But for a complementing colour, I would do enough that defines your face, but not enough so it looks severe. So don't go too pale and don't go too dark. Just go 2 shades lighter or 2 shades darker, depending on what your hair colour is. I like colours that don't really have much pigment to them. They're not very red. So I like colours like Omega, like Brun, like Espresso. They're the kind of colours I use on most people's eyes. Now, where do we go with the brow? So I'm going to start, and I'm going to start just above the outside of my nose. So it's kind of just above the nostril here. I'm starting to shape as we draw. And I really think it's important, and I don't think anyone really talks about this, but we can actually use that method of placing here, and placing here, which I've talked about in many of my brow tutorials so far. We can use that to really draw on an eyebrow, but how do we draw the eyebrow on? Are we going to draw it with a sharp arch? Are we going to draw it with a strong line? Are we going to make it curved? Because all those shapes will fit those dot kind of structure. I think you have to look at your face objectively. Like when I look in the back of the camera, I can see quite often a different perspective to how I see in the mirror. In the mirror, I think, okay, I'm going to use an arch, and that might make my face look great. Then I look in the back of the camera and I think to myself, actually, I've not really got much line in my face. I'm quite rounded here. I've got quite a rounded tip to my nose. My lips are quite rounded. I don't really have much harsh angles in my cheekbones. I'm quite soft in the shape. So that's the kind of aesthetic that I want to achieve in my brow. I want to have a soft curved line. So that's what I think about when I draw my brows on. If I just use this, I'm just going to change this a little bit, and I'm just going to use an arch instead of a round. That doesn't really bring out my eye. That looks kind of like a statement. It looks like a deliberate mistake. It's too dark, it's too thin in the wrong areas, and it's too arched. But it still fits that kind of guideline. I love to play with the shapes, so I'm going to take this with a brush, and a brush always looks a little bit softer than a pencil. And I'm going to keep it a soft line. I'm just going to add some hairs for effect, and I'll be right back. So let's talk about lips, because I think it's nice to do the lips for the eyes sometimes, especially when we're going to do a natural look. What colour lips do we do? Now, we can use any kind of colour we want on the lips. I think lips are one of the things that actually really, it defines the look you're going for. So if you wanted to go for a bright purple lip, that could work. But again, it's about the undertones. So we have 2 kinds of reds. We have one that's blue-based and one that's orange-based. Now, because I use pink tones in my skin, I suit naturally more cooler tones like the blue. It tends to be kind of difficult to wear orangey reds on the lip when you have cooler tones. It works a lot better on this kind of lip, but I'm just going to show you the same colour on both, and I'm going to be using this deep red by Illamasqua, and it's called Lust. It's kind of like a neutral blue red. It's not as dark as some of the blues. To make this colour work on a kind of golden skin tone, I'd go for a more coral or a warmer red. So with the aesthetic of the lip, it's about the undertones, not necessarily the colour. So you can go with a dark blue, but maybe a more cerulean would look great on this, as opposed to a cobalt or whatever you want to choose. I think it's very easy to see when it looks wrong on people. I think as soon as you put it on, you can see, like, no, that's not quite right. That's the kind of messenger in your head that should say, ah, I understand that. So let's talk about the eyes. Now, I think we can go whatever we want to do with the eyes. You can go crazy, you can go light, you can go natural. I think to be creative with makeup is the beauty of it. No one wants to look the same. But when it comes to complementing our eye colour and bringing out our eyes, it's really important to know our colour tone, because that again will help out with the makeup. When it comes to the eye though, I think the place we apply the makeup is very important. We use the kind of contour of the face as a guideline. So we use things like, I'm just going to use this to the extreme. So I'm going to put a white just in, this is Gesso by MAC. And this is on the top of the brow bone. And then I'm going to use that on the lid of the eye. And as you can see, it creates a little bit more of a shape because we're dividing this space up into sections. Now I'm going to use that Omega colour I used on my eye because it's kind of like a neutral shadowy brown. Taking it off on the back of my hand just so we don't apply too much. And then going to go in between where the kind of socket recedes. And then I'm going to use a blending brush, the 217 by MAC, just to really buff that in. So for purely simplistic reasons, that's a natural eye, and that's a great way of using colours to really shape the eye and to bring out the structure. Now if we did that in reverse, for example, if we used a dark colour under the brow, a dark colour on the lid, it wouldn't necessarily do anything for the shape of the eye. It doesn't make the eye look tilted up. It doesn't really make the eye look bigger. It actually makes the eye look smaller. So it's just a difference. We're using the same colours but in the wrong place. It doesn't do anything for the shape. This side obviously looks very lifted and very delicate, whereas this side looks kind of crazy. A little bit crazy. Do we use eyeliner in the waterline? Yes, we can, but what kind of colours do we use to bring out the eyes? This colour is called Val by Illamasqua, and it's a cream. I'm going to run this along the waterline. And as you can see, it just makes the eye look a little bit more awake. Now, I could use a black in the waterline if the rest of the makeup worked with that look. But if, for example, I put a black on a natural kind of eye, this looks natural, but hey, it doesn't look as big as when we use a pale tone. In fact, it doesn't really shape the eye unless the whole makeup around it was there to complement the eyeliner. So I would advise using black when the rest of the look makes sense. Sometimes I like to take a little bit of a darker black underneath the lower lash line, and sometimes I like to use a little bit of black in the lower lash line with a smoky eye. But for a delicate complementary look like this, I would say use a colour that really complements and brings out the eye, like a cream, like a white. White's a little bit 80s but can look cute. Just something that really opens the shape up. Liquid liners. Now, liquid liners are pretty much whatever you want to do. I kind of like to just use a flick because it makes my eyes look taller and wider. I think the worst thing with liquid liners for me is using the wrong kind of liner for my eye. Now, this is a liquid lash liner, which is great, MAC Do 1. This one's by number 17. And it's very easy to make a permanent line. So we just draw it along and this will stay all day. However, because my eyes are hooded, as soon as I look up, it gets everywhere. It moves all over the eyelid as the day goes on. It doesn't complement the eye shape because that part of the eye doesn't stay black. It imprints there and it just doesn't work. My favourite liner is definitely one that I found on eBay because it dries and stays on so well. But one that I think is great is the Scandaleyez, and I've got the thick and the thin one. I think they're great pen liners. MAC do a great one. Bourjois used to do a great one. They just dry quick enough so that this mess doesn't happen. And this is a mess. This is not cute. This is not cute. So let's finalise with mascara, because I think we've covered all bases in this video. Mascara is a really easy one to get wrong, and I think it's because we use the wrong mascaras. Now, if you have waterproof mascara, you're going to have a likelihood that your lashes aren't going to look that pretty. It's really rare to find a really great waterproof mascara. Because of the way it works, the hairs grab together a little bit more. I like to use products that really blacken the actual lashes. My favourite is definitely Max Factor 2000 Calories. I've been using it since I was at school. And I just use it just to really bring out the lashes. I always apply to the bottom. Always make sure you use the mascara wand as it's designed and use the point of it to get into the corners, because people try and jiggle it in and get into a hot mess. That is not the best way to go. So I think that kind of showcases what the right way of applying makeup is to complement your features, and perhaps the wrong way. Now I'm not going to say, I've seen a few Gangaros that look a little bit like this, not going to lie. This isn't really for me, and I hope it's not for you either. But I hope you enjoyed that anyway. It was fun to talk about makeup, and I do believe that any kind of makeup that you choose to do is unique and perfect for you. So don't worry about my little opinion, I'm just sitting here with a camera on, so don't worry about that. But if you guys did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It's fun to always talk about what we like and what we don't like about makeup, and leave a comment about what you prefer and what you don't. And I will see you all in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon.